This conference will now be recorded.
Let us start the configuration of asset accounting. I'll put asset accounting configuration. Okay, so I'll put the below basic points to be noted down before we start our config. Before we start our configuration, below points to be noted down. First one is our company code. We need to list out what is our company code. Second one is country for which we are configuring asset accounting. This is the second point. Third one is number of ledgers used in the company code. Fourth point, number of currencies used in the company code. Fifth point, list of accounting principles used in the company code. This is the basic information. First, we need to make a note of it. Point number one, we were talking about company code for which we are implementing or for which we are going to configure asset accounting. We will be configuring this for company code called DEIN. So okay, DEIN is our company code. Next one, country for which we are going to configure asset accounting. We are going to configure for India because DEIN is Indian company code. I am going to write India here. Whatever the country that you are configuring this, you need to make sure that particular country is listed here. Next one, number of ledgers used in the company code. To find out the number of ledgers, you have a table here. Let me go to SE16N. I'll go to SE16N. This is the table FINSV underscore F4 underscore LDBUKRS. Pass your company code DEIN. Click on execute. If you click on execute, you are getting these many company codes. Somebody closed my ID. Okay, so the third ledger that we are having is representative ledger, which is DA. First, what I will do, I will delete this DA representative ledger so that we will configure the ledger once again. For that, let me log in. I have to inform that not to use my ID. Ajay40 I'll take. FINSC underscore ledger. Here I'll take that ledger was DA. This is representative ledger. Let me go to the assignment of company code. I will delete this company code from this ledger. Delete, delete, continue, entry deleted, save this. Next one, I will also delete this ledger so that we will recreate another ledger to understand from the beginning on what basis we need to set it up. Delete all entries. I will save it. Next one, to understand how many ledgers we have for our company code, you should always go to a table. For viewing any table, SE16N is the T code. Go to SE16N, pass the table FINSV underscore F4 underscore LDBUKRS. In this table, input your company code DEIN. Click on execute. When you click on execute, you are able to find two ledgers here. One is leading ledger, the other one is non-leading ledger. Now here I'll put number of ledgers used in company code is 2. In bracket I will put leading and non-leading. These are the two ledgers that we are using. Next one, number of currencies used in the company code. To check how many currencies are used in your company code, open any one ledger, either leading ledger or non-leading ledger. Let me open leading ledger. I'll select leading ledger 0L. Double click on company code settings for the ledger. In this, select your company code. Go to position, pick DEIN. If you double click on your company code, you will be able to see the number of currencies that are being used. One is currency type 10, the other one is currency type 30. There are no further currencies which are assigned here. No additional currencies are used. One is your local currency, the other one is group currency. Two currencies are used. Local currency is INR, group currency is dollar. Update here, number of currencies used is 2. I'll put 2. In bracket, I'll put INR and USD. We are using INR currency at the same time dollar currency. After this, list of accounting principles used in the company code. Now, when you're talking about list of accounting principle, we need to understand based on what we are generating the current reports in the company code. We are talking about we are having two ledgers. One is leading ledger, the other one is non-leading ledger. For leading ledger, you must be using one accounting principle. Similarly, for the non-leading ledger, we must be using another accounting principle. Assuming that for leading ledger, we are working on IFRS accounting principle, and for non-leading ledger, we are working on Indian Accounting Standard accounting principle. So for now, I'll put 2 here. So one is Indian Accounting Standard and the other one is IFRS. This is your list of accounting principles used in the company code. Next one, I'll put another point. Sixth point, additional accounting principle used for asset accounting purpose only. If there is any additional accounting principle which is used only for the asset accounting purpose, so that will be one accounting principle will be used additionally for asset accounting. I'll put Indian Income Tax Act. I will mention the additional accounting principle used for asset accounting report, additional accounting principle used for asset accounting purpose only for the purpose of asset accounting. Let's say we are using Indian Income Tax Act. Normally in every country, based on the tax law, there will be additional accounting principle exclusively used for asset accounting. Like this, you can have any additional accounting principle for your asset valuation. When you are talking about fixed asset or when you're talking about asset accounting, we will be calling this asset as fixed asset valuation or asset valuation. You are valuating your fixed asset based on IFRS accounting rules, based on Indian Accounting Standards accounting rules, based on Indian Income Tax Act accounting rule. Similarly, you may follow any other accounting valuation, any other accounting rule to evaluate your fixed asset for various reporting requirement. If you have any additional reporting requirement, you need to make a note of it. Otherwise, you will be freezing. These are the reporting requirements. Now, these points we are writing to understand how you are going to set up your asset accounting, what parameters we have to keep in mind. Next point I'll put fiscal year variants used in the company code. Next one is fiscal year variants used in the company code. Here when we talk about fiscal year variant used in the company code, we need to look at how many fiscal years are currently used in the company code. For this, you need to go to the same ledger FINSV underscore F4 underscore LDBUKRS. In this table, system will display the number of ledgers that we are using for a particular company code. As per the current system setup, there are two ledgers, one leading ledger, one non-leading ledger, and you will be able to look at the fiscal year variant here. One fiscal year variant is K4, which is your calendar year. Other fiscal year variant is V3, which is non-calendar year. Now there are two approaches. If both the fiscal years are the same, this is one approach. If both the fiscal years are different, this is another approach. In S4HANA system, when you are working on asset accounting, if you have two different fiscal year variant, the way you are going to set up asset accounting is different. If you have two different fiscal year variant, the way you set up asset accounting is different because we need to add certain additional parameters here. As your asset accounting will work on common or one fiscal year variant. In the entire asset accounting, you are not supposed to bring different fiscal year variant. If you're talking about fiscal year, the asset accounting will represent either one fiscal year Jan to December or the other fiscal year April to March, cannot be both. Asset accounting will not accept two fiscal years at the same time. You have to make sure either you treat all your asset accounting fiscal years as Jan to December or everything as April to March. So number of fiscal years used in the company code, I'll put 2 is the count, and this 2, one I'll put Jan to December and the other one is April to March. These are the two fiscal year variants that we are using for the asset accounting. So in short, this is the basic information that we need to list out about our company code before we start the config. Based on this information, next point that we need to list out is note. If we have different fiscal year variants used in the company code, different fiscal year variants used in the company code, we cannot configure asset accounting in S4HANA. If we have different fiscal year variants used in the company code, we cannot configure asset accounting in S4HANA. So in order to configure asset accounting in S4HANA, we must make sure all the ledgers will represent same fiscal year variant for asset accounting. In order to configure asset accounting in S4HANA, we must make sure all the ledgers will represent same fiscal year variant in asset accounting. Now, as we cannot change fiscal year variant for ledger due to statutory or legal requirements, so we have to use an alternative way suggested by SAP to overcome this issue. As we cannot change fiscal year variant for ledger due to statutory or legal requirements, we have to use an alternative way suggested by SAP. Okay, so we will have to use representative ledger approach to have same fiscal year variant for asset accounting in S4HANA. We will have to use a representative ledger approach to have same fiscal year variant for asset accounting in S4HANA. So this representative ledger is a copy of leading ledger, which will have all the parameters same as leading ledger. This representative ledger is a copy of leading ledger, which will have all the parameters same as leading ledger. In short, whatever the parameters that are used by your leading ledger, all these same parameters must be used by your representative ledger. Okay, and we must make sure we will create a new ledger and assign the same fiscal year variant of leading ledger to it. We must make sure we will create a new ledger and assign the same fiscal year variant of leading ledger to it. Whatever the new ledger, in short the representative ledger that we are talking about, this representative ledger will be created and this will be assigned to the same fiscal year variant of your leading ledger. Whatever the fiscal year variant that is currently used at the leading ledger, same fiscal year variant will be used for your representative ledger. Now, next one, we will not post any entries and we will not generate any reports with representative ledger, as it is created only for asset accounting purpose to meet system requirements. We will not post any entries and we will not generate any reports with representative ledger, as it is created only for asset accounting purpose. Next one, we must create accounting principle based on asset accounting reporting or valuation requirements. We must create accounting principle based on asset accounting reporting or asset accounting valuation requirement. And accounting principles are assigned to ledger and ledger groups in SAP. Accounting principles are assigned to ledger, at the same time These are assigned to the ledger group in SAP. Ledgers should not represent more than one accounting principle. Okay, ledgers should not represent more than one accounting principle, which means when you're talking about a ledger, you're talking about accounting principle. I cannot say my ledger is representing two accounting principle. For example, if I'm talking about my leading ledger, let's say if I put an example, I will write leading ledger, I will write non-leading ledger also. For example, leading ledger I will tell this is used for IFRS, non-leading ledger I will tell this is used for Indian accounting standard. At any given point of time, when I look at my leading ledger, it has to represent only IFRS. Similarly, at any given point of time, when I look at my non-leading ledger, it has to represent Indian accounting standard only. If system is showing IAS and IFRS, this is wrong. In case while creating your configuration, sometimes what will happen, by mistakenly we will be assigning multiple accounting principles to our ledger. By mistakenly we will be assigning multiple accounting principle to our ledger, which is wrong. Because at the time of assignment to the of your accounting principle to the ledger, system will not stop you. It will not tell that you are already using this. It will accept your assignment, but make sure your ledger is not representing with two different accounting principle. If I am talking about IFRS, my IFRS should either represent leading ledger or non-leading ledger. IFRS cannot represent leading and non-leading together. Similarly, if I am talking about Indian accounting standard, I must represent either leading ledger or non-leading ledger. It should not be both. So we need to make sure these points we are not messing up, these points we are not getting confused and not doing duplicate assignment. Okay, ledgers should not represent more than one accounting principle. Next point. So in S4HANA, system will read or determine the ledgers based on accounting principles only. In S4HANA, system will read or determine the ledgers based on the accounting principle only. You need to make sure if you want to post entries to the leading ledger or if you want to post entries to the non-leading ledger. In short, if you are evaluating your fixed asset based on the leading ledger or you are evaluating your fixed asset based on the non-leading ledger, make sure you will not be able to assign ledger, you will be able to assign only the accounting principle. Accounting principle will determine or accounting principle will bring ledger in SAP S4HANA system. Make sure our assignment of accounting principle and a ledger is done in a proper manner without getting any confusion. We need to make a note of this. That is why here we are writing all the points. When you write all these points, you will have a clarity what points we are considering, what is our company code, which country we are working for, what are the reporting requirements, ledgers, currencies, fiscal year. Accordingly, we have to make sure all the mapping is properly done. Okay, so this point. After this, so next one, I'll put configuration steps now. These are the points that we have listed. Next one, I will put configuration steps. When I put configuration steps, first one is let me go to ORFA. All your asset accounting is done in ORFA configuration screen. Configuration steps, I'll put T code is ORFA. This is one single transaction code in which total asset accounting related path you will be able to find. So in this, first we have to go to organizational structure. Next one, we need to click on copy reference chart of depreciation areas. I'm not writing the path, I will only put this. Then I will ask somebody to make the path in an Excel sheet along with the screenshot, so that you will have the clear point or clear understanding where you need to go for each step. I am writing only the step as of now. Copy reference chart of depreciation areas. So this will be your first configuration. Copy reference chart of depreciation areas. In this, what we need to do is, so in SAP we cannot create our own chart of depreciation. In SAP we cannot create our own chart of depreciation. SAP will deliver predefined chart of depreciations based on country. Okay, so with the naming convention 0 IN, in short 0 followed by country code. SAP will deliver predefined chart of depreciations based on country and with the naming convention 0 IN, in short 0 followed by country code. If you are talking about India, 0 followed by India country code is IN. 0 IN will be the chart of depreciation predefined in SAP. Next one, chart of depreciation is country specific. Chart of depreciation is country specific. We must create a single chart of depreciation at country level and assign the same to all company codes of that country. Okay, we must create a single chart of depreciation at country level and assign the same to all the company codes of that particular country. Next one. Chart of depreciation contains depreciation areas. Chart of depreciation contains depreciation areas. Depreciation area represents asset valuation based on accounting principle and currency combination. Okay, so you need to understand asset value. Depreciation area represents asset valuation based on accounting principle, at the same time currency combination. We need to understand what is our accounting principle, at the same time we need to understand what is our currency. With the combination of accounting principle and currency, you will be able to define how many depreciation areas you require. Now, the ideal logic for freezing or for deciding number of depreciation areas to be created. as follows. So this will be number of ledgers multiplied by number of currencies. So here I'll put 2 points. Point number 1, depreciation areas for posting purpose. Ledger is available. Okay, second point will be depreciation areas for reporting purpose. Depreciation areas for reporting purpose, ledger is not available. Point number 1, you will be deciding depreciation areas for the posting purpose where ledger is available. Second one, you will be creating a depreciation areas for the reporting purpose where ledger is not available. There are two possibilities. Point number 1, ledger is available. Point number 2, ledger is not available. If ledger is available, it is related to posting. If ledger is not available, it is not related to posting, only for the reporting purpose. So number of ledgers multiplied by number of currencies will be used. Number of currencies for posting purpose. Number of ledgers multiplied by number of currencies for same thing. This is for reporting purpose. Either ways it is the same logic. Let me put two different color for this. This is one mapping and the second one is this mapping. Now based on this, what we are going to do is, for our company code, we will be requiring below depreciation areas. So I will write depreciation area and I'll put description, ledger group and accounting principle. These points are required for us to decide how many depreciation areas are required. First point, we have different accounting principle. One is your IFRS accounting principle. I'll put IFRS. Now we are writing number of ledgers multiplied by number of currencies. IFRS is your leading ledger. When I am talking about number of ledgers, I am representing my accounting principle also. IFRS is your leading ledger. Second one, IFRS again. Third one is my Indian accounting standard. Fourth one is again Indian accounting standard, wherein for IFRS we have a leading ledger. For Indian accounting standard we have non-leading ledger. In IFRS I have 0L, I'll put 0L, and this is my INR currency. This is one depreciation area. IFRS accounting principle, 0L leading ledger, INR local currency. Second one, IFRS accounting principle and leading ledger 0L, and another currency that we are using is dollar. So for leading ledger, in short, for IFRS accounting principle, you need two depreciation areas. One will show the asset valuation in local currency, other one will show the asset valuation in group currency. Whatever the currencies that you have in your company code, you have to valuate your fixed asset in all your currencies. If you are using two currencies, based on each accounting principle, you have to represent the number in local currency plus group currency. If you have any other currencies, for every currency there must be a separate depreciation area created. You cannot skip a currency in the depreciation. If you have three currencies, there must be three depreciation areas for each ledger. Similarly, Indian accounting standard. So our non-leading ledger is D percentage. Indian accounting standard we are using for non-leading ledger. Our non-leading ledger is D percentage. I will put Indian accounting standard followed by D percentage, and this will be local currency INR. Similarly, this fourth one, Indian accounting standard, non-leading ledger D percentage, this will be dollar. Now these four are mandatory accounting principles. These four are mandatory depreciation areas, because in every accounting principle, as per your company code setup, you have to submit the reporting both in local reporting and in your group reporting, as these two currencies are assigned at your ledger level for your company code. Same ledgers, same currencies must be represented in your asset accounting for the fixed asset valuation purpose. So no other option, these four are mandatory. Without these four you cannot create. Apart from these four, if you have any additional reporting requirement, or you want to evaluate your fixed asset based on any other logic, based on any other method, you will have to create additional depreciation areas based on the different accounting principle, based on the different reporting requirement. In general, there will be common reporting requirement on fixed asset. You have to evaluate your fixed asset according to tax law also in every country. According to Companies Act or according to accounting principle, you need to evaluate. Second one, according to tax law also, you need to submit your asset valuation. Whether you take India company or any other country's company, you will have accounting based asset valuation, and the other one is tax based or taxation based fixed asset valuation. Whatever we have written is accounting based asset valuation based on leading, non-leading ledger, local GAAP, and then your global GAAP, local accounting principle, and then common or corporate accounting principle. Third accounting principle which we will be using is Indian Income Tax Act or Income Tax Act according to India. Now I'll put third one, Indian Income Tax Act. I'm just writing IIT as a shortcut. You can write any elaboration of your choice. So here this will not have any ledger. Basically, we are not going to create any ledger for Income Tax Act, because you are not going to record any transactions based on the Income Tax Act. Based on the Income Tax Act, we are not going to create any accounting postings. So what we will do, we will not put any ledger for the Income Tax Act. I'm just going to put IIT alone, and then I'll put INR, Indian Income Tax Act INR depreciation. At the same time, Indian Income Tax Act dollar depreciation. Okay, this is my depreciation area description. Now this will be your description. I'll take this here now. I'm shifting this from here to here, because now based on the description, this is what the description, you need to create one depreciation area. Depreciation area is a 2-digit numeric number. When you create a depreciation area, it's a 2-digit numeric number. Out of that 2-digit numeric number, one is mandatory. One is mandatory depreciation area. This cannot be changed. Depreciation area 1 must be used. You cannot change this one. Apart from 1, whatever you want to create, you can create any 2-digit of your choice or single digit. Maximum you will create is 2-digit. Maximum you can create a 2-digit, and the last number or the highest number in 2-digit is 99. When we say depreciation area is a 2-digit number, according to 2-digit logic, the last number that you can go with is 99. With that, you can say that maximum 99 depreciation areas you can create in the asset accounting. You cannot go beyond 99 depreciation areas, because you will be creating depreciation area with 2-digit numeric code. 2-digit numeric code cannot go beyond 99. So maximum number of depreciation areas that we can create is 99. Now when you create depreciation areas, it has to be always in the ascending order or in the highest number. If my first depreciation area is 1, we understood first depreciation area is 1. 1 cannot be changed. I have no control to change depreciation area 1 to any other number. I must follow depreciation area as 1. Additional depreciation areas, whatever I am creating, I can create any number, but it has to be greater than 1. If I am giving 1, I cannot give less than 1 here. It will not accept. Second one, I am going to give 2. I can give 2 also, or I can give any other number which is greater than 1. I can give 3, 4, 10, 20, 30, 40, which must be next number of 1. No such logic, but normally we will be proceeding with the sequential order 1, 2. And next one is your third depreciation according to Indian accounting standard. According to Indian accounting standard, you will have to create another depreciation area which will be the next number of previous. Last number is 2. I can create 3 or I can create 20, 30, 40 as per my choice, which must be greater than 2. I am not going to create in that way. Normally we will follow the sequential order. I will proceed with 3. Next one, fourth depreciation area. The fourth depreciation area number must be greater than 3. It has to be in the ascending order. I'll put 4 here. Similarly, next one I will put 5 and the last one I will put 6. This is how I am deciding my depreciation area. It is just an identification of 2-digit numeric value. Maximum you can create is 99 depreciation areas. You will always create in the ascending order. Next one, ledger group. So in S4HANA, we cannot assign ledger group manually. It is always extracted or derived based on accounting principle. In S4HANA, we cannot assign ledger group manually. It is always derived based on the accounting principle. You need to define the accounting principle. We need to define the mapping of accounting principle. Accordingly, system is going to bring your ledgers. Now, to bring the ledgers based on the accounting principle, you need to have an approach. How we are going to bring accounting principle to pick the ledgers? Because ledger is not something which you can directly assign in S4HANA system. This ledger is non-editable field. It will be grayed out. You cannot assign anything in the ledger manually. If you want a particular ledger, you need to assign the respective accounting principle that is going to call the ledger automatically. One sec, the Excel is stuck. Now, next one, I'll put ledger and accounting principle mapping. Next thing that we need to understand is how we are going to map ledgers with our accounting principle. First one, we have leading ledger. This is used for IFRS. Put leading ledger. This is your IFRS. Zero L. Leading ledger IFRS 0L. Second one, you have non-leading ledger. This is your Indian accounting standards, and this is your D percentage. This is the ledger. Leading ledger IFRS accounting principle, 0L is the ledger code. Second one, non-leading ledger, Indian accounting standard is the accounting principle, D percentage is the ledger code. Based on this, we need to understand how we are going to define the mapping of ledger with the accounting principle. When we are talking about ledger with accounting principle mapping, we need to understand what parameters we are going to consider. Point number one. So there will be no changes in leading ledger accounting principle. It is a direct mapping. There will be no changes in the leading ledger accounting principle. It is a direct mapping, which means whatever the accounting principle you have for leading ledger, it will be a direct mapping. So what I will be doing, it is getting stuck. Yeah, okay. So here I will write, now I'll put accounting principle will be created for IFRS and it will be assigned to ledger and ledger group. Accounting principle will be created for IFRS and it will be assigned to ledger, at the same time ledger group. Asset accounting will pick the ledger group based on the accounting principle assignment. Okay, asset accounting will pick the ledger group. It is not going to pick ledger, it will always pick ledger group. Asset accounting will pick the ledger group based on the accounting principle assignment. One sec. I'm not sure why my Excel is getting stuck. I think memory is full. Now here I'll put accounting principle and ledger group. So this I will be creating something like accounting principle is a 4-digit identification. I am going to create DE, which will represent del IF. Okay, I'll create DEIF. This will represent as DEIN IFRS, and this will be assigned to ledger 0L. At the same time, ledger group 0L. One point that we need to remember here is whenever you create any ledger, the same ledger will be created as ledger group. If you are creating a ledger is by default created as a ledger group. So your IFRS, in short DEIF, will be assigned to ledger 0L. At the same time, it will be assigned to the ledger group 0L because both will represent the same code 0L and then 0L. Next one, when it comes to the non-leading ledger. So I'll put one color for this. This is second one. Non-leading ledger, Indian accounting standard, D percentage is the ledger. Now, as the non-leading ledger is not using same fiscal year of which is used in leading, same fiscal year, let's say, yeah, which is used in leading, we cannot map this directly in SAP. As a non-leading ledger is not using same fiscal year which is used in leading ledger, we cannot map this directly in SAP. You will be able to map it directly only if your non-leading ledger is using the same fiscal year. As we discussed, asset accounting will not accept different fiscal year variant. At the total asset accounting level, you must have one fiscal year only. If you are representing Jan to December, everything must be represented with respect to Jan to December. Otherwise, everything must be represented with respect to April to March. So, as different fiscal year variants are not allowed in S4HANA, so we must create additional ledger called representative ledger. We must create additional ledger called representative ledger. So we will create a representative ledger as, let's say, I'll mention as DA, and we will assign leading ledger fiscal year to it. We will create a representative ledger as DA and we will assign leading ledger fiscal year to it. In short, DA ledger will show Jan to December as fiscal year. Okay, so once the representative ledger is created, we must create a ledger group manually and include non-leading and representative ledger in it. Okay, we must, once the representative ledger is created, we must create a ledger group manually and include non-leading and representative ledger in it. So first what we will do, we will create a representative ledger. For creation of representative ledger, it is the same like the way we created non-leading ledger. The way we created a non-leading ledger, in a similar way we need to create a representative ledger. FINSC underscore ledger. Enter. Just give me a message. I'll put a message that the weekend batch will be at 9 o'clock today. Just give me 1 minute. Alright. So now let us create the non-leading ledger. Let us create a representative ledger. The way we created non-leading ledger, in the similar way we need to create the representative ledger. So we are assuming DA will be representative ledger. I'll add a new entry here. I'll click on new entry. I will put representative ledger as DA and I will put DEIN representative ledger asset accounting. I'll put this description. DA is the representative ledger. Description will be DEIN company code representative ledger for asset accounting. You can put any description. This is what I am giving. Let me click on save this. Enter. Now, whenever you create any ledger, system creates the ledger group by default. That is what we are getting here. Ledger group DA is created only with ledger. Ledger group contains the ledgers. In this ledger group DA, system has assigned only one ledger called DA. Continue with this. And I will select this ledger group. I'll click on company code settings for the ledger. Let me double click on this. Currently inside this ledger there are no company codes. Click on new entries here. Give your company code for which you want to assign this representative ledger. We want to assign it to DEIN company code. Press enter. On this pop-up message, click on no and make sure you are going to assign fiscal year variant which is exactly same like your leading ledger. Let me go to the table for the ledgers. In this table, if you look at the leading ledger 0L, fiscal year variant that is assigned is K4. We are creating additional ledger which is your representative ledger just for the reason the fiscal year variant is not the same. Since fiscal year variant is not the same, you are going to create a representative ledger. This representative ledger will represent your leading ledger. When it is representing the leading ledger, it is representing all the parameters same like leading ledger. If your leading ledger fiscal year is K4, your representative ledger fiscal year should also be K4. So here it is K4. I am not making any other changes. The only point that we require is K4 fiscal year variant. I'll proceed to save this. Enter. Continue. Data was saved. Now what I'll do, I'll come back to this table now. We have assigned. Let me come back to this table. Currently it is showing two ledgers, one leading ledger, one non-leading ledger. When I click on refresh, it has to add third ledger which is your representative ledger. Leading ledger, representative ledger must show same fiscal year variant. Let us click on refresh the table. I'll click on refresh. When I click on refresh, this is what it is showing. Leading ledger and DA representative ledger. These two must represent, these two must show same fiscal year variant, which is what it is currently showing. Right, this is the whole idea why we are creating representative ledger. Since there are two different fiscal year variant between leading and non-leading, you are going to add additional ledger which is nothing but representative. This representative ledger will represent leading ledger attributes or leading ledger parameters. Once this is done, you need to group these two ledgers. Once this is done, you need to group non-leading ledger, representative ledger in an additional ledger group. This is what we have listed here. Once representative ledger is created, we must create a ledger group manually and include non-leading and representative ledger in it. And ledger group must be represented by representative ledger to make sure both ledger groups in asset accounting will show same fiscal year. Once once ledger group is created, ledger group must be represented by a representative ledger to make sure both the ledger groups in asset accounting will show same fiscal year. Now let us create a ledger group now. For creation of a ledger group, let me come back on this screen, ledger configuration. I'll go to SPRO. In this SAP reference IMG, financial accounting global settings, ledgers, in ledgers you will find a setting called define ledger group. Open this define ledger group. In this ledger group we need to create one ledger group. You can create maximum 4-digit ledger group. So what I am going to create is I will be creating ledger group with 4 digits. You can also create only with 2 digits. It is purely your choice. I will put, let's say, DEAA, or instead I'll put something like Dell India Asset Accounting. Okay, so I'll put DEIN representative ledger asset accounting. Here if you want you can also mention in bracket D percentage and DA. These are the two ledgers which we are going to use. D percentage and DA. These are the two ledgers which are used in this ledger group. Your ledger group must be considering non-leading ledger plus representative ledger. Every ledger group will be represented by one particular ledger. Your ledger group will be represented by representative ledger, which is DA. Select your ledger group, double click on ledger assignment. If you double click on ledger assignment, you will find an option here. Click on new entries. You need to insert two ledgers. One is your non-leading ledger, the other one is representative ledger. Non-leading ledger is D percentage and representative ledger is DA. Press enter. Non-leading ledger is D percentage and then representative ledger is DA. Now you have an option here which is nothing but representative ledger in group. When you are talking about representative ledger, this ledger group is always represented by wherever you put a tick. If I put a tick against DA, whatever the fiscal year variant that is assigned to DA will be taken as ledger group fiscal year. System will consider only one fiscal year at the time of ledger group. If you put a tick for DA, system will assume that this ledger group is used by Jan to December fiscal year. If I put a tick for D percentage, system will understand your ledger group is using April to March fiscal year. Now the whole objective of creating this representative ledger is to make sure that the fiscal year variant is not inconsistent, fiscal year variant is consistent, or fiscal year variant is common between two ledger groups. If I put D percentage as my representative, your ledger group will talk about V3 fiscal year variant. The whole idea, the whole objective will be wasted if you put tick for D percentage. The whole idea why we created a ledger group is to make sure leading ledger group plus the additional ledger group whatever we created must represent same fiscal year, which is Jan to December. My leading ledger group is representing K4 fiscal year. I want the additional ledger group which I am creating also should represent K4. So K4 will be represented only if I mark DA as my representative ledger. I'll come back to this. I'll make sure DA is my representative ledger. If I put DA as representative ledger, this ledger group will show, or this ledger group will tell Jan to December is the fiscal year. If you tick this, it will tell April to March. but according to our requirement, you need to make sure common or same fiscal year is used. For leading ledger, already Jan to December is there. You need to put a tick mark strictly to the ledger which is talking about January to December. DA is talking about January to December. Put a tick to the DA, click on save. Click on save. Now ledger group is now created. DIAA is the ledger group. Now, so DIAA representative ledger group is created. We have created a DIAA representative ledger. Next one, we need to do the assignment of accounting principles. Next thing is to make sure that accounting principles are assigned. First, let us verify if we have created accounting principles. Let me go back. Accounting principle. I think D series, I guess we have deleted. Yes, accounting principles are deleted. Next thing, we need to create accounting principle. Accounting principle creation. So we need below accounting principles to be created. We need below accounting principles to be created. First one is your IFRS. Second one is your Indian Accounting Standard. Third one is your Indian Income Tax Act. Fourth one, we are also talking about DEIN. So I am creating with DEIN another accounting principle. Let's say asset accounting principle. So first one, we will create accounting principle for IFRS. Let me go to SAP. ORFA, sorry, not ORFA, SPRO, SAP reference IMG, financial accounting, global settings, ledger, parallel accounting, define accounting principle. So first accounting principle we need is, I'll put DEIN IFRS. So I can simply put DIFR. So I'm writing DIFR as DEIN IFRS. DIFR is the accounting principle for this. DIFR. Second one is your Indian Accounting Standard. So I'll put DEIN IAS Indian Accounting Standard. I'll put DIAS. So this will be DIAS. Next one, Income Tax Act. I'll put DEIN IIT Income Tax Act. DIIT I'll put. Save. I'll put DIIT. And third accounting principle I will be mentioning or I will be creating as DEIN. Same like a company code I am creating, or you can create anything. Right, so I will be creating same like company code, or DIAA I'll put DIAA. Dell India Asset Accounting Principle. DIAA Asset Accounting I'll put. Okay, DEIN Asset Accounting I'll put. In the description I am going to put IAS. This is your IAS represented by the other accounting principle. I am going to save this now. Next one, assignment of this accounting principle. Now we have created these accounting principles. Next thing is to make sure we assign these accounting principles to the respective ledgers in a proper way. Now what I am going to do, first I am going to assign these ledgers with the accounting principle. Later on I'll come back to the ledger group, because at the ledger level we need to make sure accounting principle is assigned. I'll come back. Let me go to ledger here. Inside the ledger, I'll go to define settings for ledger and currency type. Let us pick leading ledger first. Inside the leading ledger, go to company code settings. Pick your company code, which is DEIN. Select your company code, double click on accounting principle. Whatever the accounting principle which is already there, remove it, because this is the old accounting principle which we have removed from the system. Remove it. Save this first. Now at this stage, your ledger is not representing, or your ledger is not assigned with any accounting principle. For leading ledger, we are using IFRS. For leading ledger, we are using IFRS. Now I'll put 0L here. I'll put 0L. For 0L, I will be assigning accounting principle DIFR. Dell India IFRS. Dell India IFRS. And I will come back one level. I'll make sure at company code level if there is any accounting principle. Here there is one more accounting principle. We need to remove it from here. Either you put the same or you remove it. I'll put the same accounting principle, DIFR. So that there are no two accounting principle. Your leading ledger is representing only one accounting principle. As we discussed, your leading ledger will always represent single accounting principle. Come back. This is IFRS. Next one, we had non-leading ledger. Our non-leading ledger is D percentage. Let me check for D percentage if there is any accounting principle. There is nothing. Select company code settings. Inside the company code setting, there is one more accounting principle. Remove this from here. And here I will be assigning one accounting principle which I am going to assign, or which I am going to use inside my asset accounting. For non-leading ledger, we are going to use common accounting principle which will represent January to December fiscal year. January to December fiscal year, you are going to use a different ledger called DIAA. For this, you are going to use this accounting principle. So you have to use this accounting principle DIAA here. Okay, this I am assigning here. Now let me go inside the accounting principle. Here I'll remove this accounting principle. This was used previously. We have already deleted it. Let me remove it from this config. I'll click on save. Okay, here I am assigning, or I have assigned this accounting principle. What I am going to do, I am also going to assign another accounting principle which is exclusively used for this. This is normally used for Indian accounting standard. This one is representing your asset accounting. The other accounting principle that we have created is DIAS, Indian Accounting Standards. I'll click on save. In short, for my non-leading ledger, I am using two accounting principle. One is Indian accounting standard, the other one is accounting standard, which is exclusively created for asset accounting purpose. And third ledger which we created was representative ledger. Let me open representative ledger. Our representative ledger was DA. Let me pick DA. I'll go inside this DA. Here I will assign the same DIAA accounting principle, and if I go inside this ledger, here also I am going to use DIAA asset accounting principle. I am not going to assign Indian accounting standard here because at the representative ledger level there will be no transactions, there will be no reports. At the representative ledger level there will be no postings, at the same time there will be no reports. I am not assigning Indian accounting standard here. I am assigning only the accounting principle which is related to asset accounting principle. I am saving this now. Now accounting principle assignment to the ledger is now completed. Next one, we need to assign the accounting principle to the ledger group. For assignment of accounting principle to the ledger group, you have to come to parallel accounting. Inside the parallel accounting, you will find assign accounting principle to ledger group. Open this and add a new entry. For asset accounting purpose, we are going to use two ledgers. One is your leading ledger. For leading ledger, DIFRS, this will be used, and this is used by leading ledger 0L. And second one which we are going to use in your asset accounting is DIAA. This is another asset accounting principle that we have created. This is used by same ledger group DIAA which we created. Two ledgers are represented in this. One is non-leading ledger, the other one is DA ledger. In short, D percentage ledger code and DA ledger code. Enter this, click on save. Now these two alone I am assigning as of now. I'll come back. Next. So this one I am using DIAA ledger. The remaining one I am not assigning at the ledger group level because it's a one-to-one mapping. For one-to-one mapping it is not relevant. If you want, still you can create this mapping here for non-leading ledger also. I'll go here. I'll add a new entry DIAS and I'll put D percentage ledger. This is your non-leading ledger. Save it. For Indian accounting standard, I have just created the accounting principle, but I am not assigning it anywhere as we have not created any ledger which will talk about Indian Income Tax Act. This is created only for the reporting requirement as per taxation law in India. In every country, as we discussed, you will find tax depreciation reporting. As per that, you have created an accounting principle and there is no postings in the taxation law, which is the reason there is no ledger created. Since there is no ledger, there is no assignment for your Indian Income Tax Act accounting principle to the ledger. I will come back. Now this is assigned with D percentage. In the non-leading ledger also, let us map this here. In the non-leading ledger, your accounting principle is DIAA. Ledger is also DI. Ledger will be not there. Ledger you will have two here. DA and D percentage. Two ledgers will be represented. And ledger group will be DIAA. This is what we are representing for non-leading ledger in asset accounting. Next one, we need to create the depreciation areas. Here what we are going to create, ledger group will be automatically filled up based on the accounting principle. Here your accounting principle will be DIFR, DIFR. This will be DIAA, DIAA. Your tax depreciation must be based on non-leading ledger because this is country specific. Since this is country specific, you have to use the same accounting principle which is used by your country. In short, the local reporting. Now this is going to bring the ledger group 0L. It should bring ledger group 0L. It should bring ledger group DIAA, 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 DIAA should come here. Okay, now posting control. If I talk about posting control, I'll mention one, and then this will be posting. This is real-time posting. This is also real-time posting. This is no posting, and the remaining are no postings, because wherever you have put no posting are only used for the reporting purpose. System will only show the number, but no accounting entry will be generated for that depreciation area. You are going to have two depreciation areas which will be real-time posting. One is leading ledger local currency, the other one is non-leading ledger local currency. Apart from leading local, non-leading local currency, the remaining all will be area does not post. In short, no posting. They are only used for reporting purpose. Number will display there. Number will display there for your reporting, for your analysis purpose. In short, your asset valuation will represent a number there, what is calculated based on the depreciation method. Let us define these depreciation keys, these depreciation areas in our chart of depreciation. Now let me go back to asset accounting setting. I'll go to ORFA, organization structure, copy reference chart of depreciation, copy reference chart of depreciation. Let me click on copy. As we discussed, standard SAP chart of depreciation is based on a logic 0 followed by the country code. Since you are working for India company code, 0 followed by India code IN, it will be 0 IN. Select 0 IN. Put your target chart of depreciation, in short, the one that you are going to create. In real time, you will be creating a chart of depreciation as CD followed by country code. CD represents chart of depreciation, IN represents India. In short, you will be reading this as chart of depreciation India. But since we are creating in the test environment, I am not going to create with that logic CDIN. Instead, I will be creating chart of depreciation same like my company code. I will be creating chart of depreciation same like my company code to represent that this chart of depreciation is used by my company code. But in the real time, when you are working for a project, this is not the approach. It has to be CD followed by IN. Now I will be creating DEIN. Enter. Enter. When you click on enter, it is asking what parameters to be copied. So it is telling whether you want to copy number ranges. No, we do not need number ranges. We will create a number ranges as per our requirement. Click on no. Save it. Continue. This is the selected object. 0IN object was selected. If you go to completed activities, chart of depreciation 0IN copied to DEIN. This is the completed activity. Come back. Next one, specify description of chart of depreciation. Whenever you copy, system will copy everything as it is. It will copy paste as it is 100%. If your description is something else, your chart of depreciation also will show some other description. You have to manually go inside and then edit the description of it. For which, go to position, pick your chart of depreciation DEIN, edit the description of it. I'll put DEIN chart of depreciation India. This is what the description I am keeping. I'll proceed to save this. Enter. Next, I will come back. Last one, copy, delete depreciation areas. Open this. DEIN is our chart of depreciation. And first, I will be removing all the unwanted chart of depreciation areas which we have. I'm going to select all this. I will be deleting this. Okay, I deleted the remaining ones. First one, we need to put the descriptions for it. Somewhere we put this one. This is the description. IFRS, leading ledger, INR. Similarly, same thing I'll put. IFRS, 0L, INR. And accounting principle that I am going to use for the first one is DIFR. I am going to copy this accounting principle. I'll place it here. Okay, and this one, real-time posting. This is your real-time posting. I'll make sure that area post in real time. I'll take real-time posting. Let me press enter. The moment I press real-time, it has brought a ledger called 0L. This is what is our intention, 0L ledger to come. It has come. I'll click on save this. Enter. Save it. If I come back one level, now this is your first depreciation area. IFRS, 0L, INR. Now to create the second one, I'll copy this one. I'll click on copy. I'll change the depreciation area to 2. And the description of this will be IFRS, leading ledger, dollar. Here also IFRS, leading ledger, dollar. This also same accounting principle, DIFR. And the second one, which is your dollar, this is no posting. Dollar has no posting. I'll come to this. I will pick area does not post. Enter. I will click on save. If I come back, let me open once again. Now I should find the two depreciation areas. Leading ledger local currency, leading ledger group currency, leading ledger local currency area post in real time, leading ledger group currency area does not post. Now we need two more depreciation areas for the non-leading ledger local currency, non-leading ledger group currency. What I'll do, I'll copy these two, click on copy. This I will replace with 3. IFRS, this I will be replacing with D percentage non-leading ledger. Here also D percentage non-leading ledger. Accounting principle for this will be DIAA. I'll copy DIAA. I'll put this here. Enter. This is again real-time posting, local currency. Enter. Next one, area number 4. Sorry, description I need to amend it. This is not IFRS. This is your IAS. IAS D percentage dollar. Here also this is your IAS D percentage dollar. For group currency, this is your IFRS. Accounting principle will be DIAA. This is area does not post. Enter. Now here also I'll update the description to IAS. I'll go inside. Here also short description I'll update as IAS. Let me save this. Ignore this warning message. Let me connect if the connection is lost. This one. Okay, now this is getting saved. Again, yeah. Now data got saved. Let me come back. Now we have got 4 depreciation areas created. Now according to our requirement, we have 2 more depreciation areas which will be created based on tax reporting requirement. For that, let me copy 2 more from 3, 4. I'll click on copy. I'll make it 5. This will be IIT, Indian Income Tax Act. I'm not writing any ledger here because for income tax we did not put any ledger. INR. IIT INR. Same accounting principle, area does not post. Enter. Last one will be 6. No ledger. This is your IIT. Same thing. Same accounting principle, area does not post. Both your taxation related account depreciation areas will not have any posting because there is no ledger to it. Click on save. Continue. If I come back, these are the 6 depreciation areas we've created. Let me come back. After creation of the depreciation areas, your second step will be persistent. Step 2, general valuation. In this currencies, inside general valuation, inside currencies, if you open the first one, define depreciation areas for foreign currencies. Here currently our company code is not visible. Let's come back and we will open this setting. Specify use of parallel currencies. I'll maintain this setting. Specify use of parallel currencies. Let me open this. In this, we need to verify and then we need to properly map how our depreciation areas are to be calculated based on our fixed asset valuation approach. First two are representing IFRS accounting principle. So first one is always book depreciation. At least one depreciation area is mandatory in your chart of depreciation. This at least one depreciation area is always represented by 1 strictly. And this does not have any parameters as it is mandatory. Second one is your IFRS leading ledger dollar. Dollar is a straightforward conversion of INR. Whatever is there in your INR, this must be converted into dollar and then represent here. This is our group currency. Our group currency is 30. In our company code leading ledger, the second currency is currency type 30. Pick this 30. And this does not have any value on its own. It is a straightforward conversion of whatever the value is there in area number 1. So value will be determined from area number 1. Similarly, this is identical. This is also determined by 1. This is also identical. When I put tick mark, I am representing this cannot be edited. Whatever you put for INR will be copied into dollar. That is what I represent here. I am giving value will be determined from this. If you press F1, adoption of values from depreciation area. This value adoption is based on 1. Whatever the value is there in depreciation area 1, the same value will be adopted by area number 2 and it will convert and display in dollar. And you cannot change, you cannot put any separate depreciation valuation. Whatever is there in INR will be copied and will be represented in dollar. This is your area number 2. Next one, area number 3. This is again real-time depreciation. For any real-time depreciation, the line will be completely blank. This will be 0. You have to remove that and put blank and then hit enter, it becomes 0. If you put anything, if you press enter, it will not be 0. Make sure for real-time depreciation posting, value adoption is 0. Value adoption 0 represents independent value. Value adoption 0 means independent value. Now area number 4 is again the same logic. This is the conversion of Indian Accounting Standard INR. Group currency, currency type 30. This is to be converted into dollars from this number. This INR to be converted into dollar. This INR is in the line item number 3. You want to adopt data from area number 3. Identical, area number 3, identical. Okay, this is the third one. Next one, Indian Income Tax Act. This does not have any depreciation. This does not have any depreciation posting as it is used only for the reporting purpose. For this, you want to determine the data or you want to adopt the value. Value adoption is possible only from the same accounting principle. Value adoption is possible only from the same accounting principle. Different accounting principle is not allowed when you want to adopt the value. Indian Income Tax Act, IFRS are not sharing the same accounting principle. If you look at it, your accounting principles are shared by these two. Same accounting principle is used for area number 3 to 6. When you want to adopt values, you can use 3 to 6. Area number 5, INR, I want to adopt value not from 1 but from 3 because the same accounting principle is used here. Here also 3. Next one, this will be blank. So I will not put any currency here. These things will be blank. Now this will be the conversion of this INR. This INR is coming from 5. I will put 5 here. And I am not putting any identicals here. I will click on save this. Okay, this is what you need to create. Let me place this screenshot there. Not paint. Snipping.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, why we are not putting identicals for depreciation area number 5 and 6?
Because they are not posting, no?
Yes, sir. But sir, depreciation area 5 getting its value derived from depreciation area 3. The APC must be same for both the depreciation area, right?
Yeah. If you put identical, you can put identical here. Okay, let me save this. But here you should not put identical because as per Income Tax Act, you will be charging depreciation separately, different method.
Yes, sir.
So if you have different depreciation method, you should not put identical. Identical when you put, it will not allow you to input depreciation key. It gets copied.
But sir, for APC, we should put now, if we acquiring a set for 100 rupees, the acquisition value should be same in both the depreciation area, na? The method of charging depreciation is different.
Yeah, here you see it is 3. Here,
yes,
whatever
sir.
the value is there, same INR value will come here. And depreciation you will be charging based on the asset master.
Right, sir.
In the asset master, whatever the depreciation key that you put, accordingly it will charge or it will calculate depreciation. If you put identical here, you mean to say this tick?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If you put this tick, it will not allow you to assign depreciation key in system. Whatever is there here, same depreciation key will get auto copied here in grayed out mode. But that is not the requirement, right? You wanted to put a different logic for this.
Yes, sir.
So if you put identical tick mark, you will not be able to change depreciation key. It gets auto copied.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Got it, right? So in the master data, you will see this. Okay, now I will come back. Next one, let us see in this setting if our company code is now appearing. If you see this, our company code is still not appearing in this. We have to see our company code reflection here. Let me go back and I'll try to reopen the setting. ORFA, general valuation, currencies, specify use of parallel currencies. This is what we updated. And next one is to define depreciation areas for foreign currencies. I'll come back. Let me change this. Our company code is supposed to reflect there. Let me remove this and then see if it will reflect. Let me come back. Open this. It is not appearing here, which is fine. So we will come back to this screen if we face any error there. After this, one more setting that we need to define this. Currently, our company code is not reflecting here. We'll see this after some time. This is another setting. Here you have to see whether your group currency is set as dollar or not. We are giving a currency types there. We need to make sure our currency is reflecting as dollar there. Next setting will be, if I go to integration with general ledger accounting. Third one will be integration with general ledger accounting. Inside this, we need to make input tax indicator for non-taxable acquisition. Copy this and put this setting. Input tax indicator for non-taxable acquisition. Open this setting. Go to our company code, which is DEIN. Against this, we need to make sure 0 tax codes are assigned, A0 and V0. Come back. I'll place this screenshot here. I'll click on new entries, copy. This setting must be reflected here. Paste it. After this, and then we need to try assignment of our chart of depreciation to the company code. Let me come to assign chart of depreciation to company code. Here position DEIN company code. The chart of depreciation that we created is DEIN. Let me press enter and I'll try to save it. If I try to save it, system is not giving any errors. It is accepting our chart of depreciation and our chart of depreciation is successfully assigned with company code. Let me come back. Okay, so another point that we need to look at here is under general valuation inside the currencies, we need to make sure here your currency is updated as dollar. Now if you see, once your chart of depreciation is assigned to your company code, we are able to find your company code here. Earlier this was not appearing. After assignment of chart of depreciation to your company code, it is displaying your company code here. Select your company code, double click on depreciation area currency. Select your company code, double click on depreciation area currency. If you look at this, INR is there, dollar is appearing, INR is appearing, dollar is there. For INR you can see, but the last one, which is dollar, you are unable to see INR dollar here. You need to change manually this to dollar. You have to update this currency manually to dollar. Since this is not the ledger based currency, you cannot put 30 there. If you look at here in this screenshot, against 6, I did not put any currency type 30 because we were putting 30 here because it has got a ledger. From ledger, system will understand what is your currency type 30. But for this, there is no ledger. When there is no ledger, you cannot put currency type. Currency type is always picked up from your ledger. For income tax, since there is no ledger, we did not put any currency type here. We are giving manually the currency. Put dollar here, click on save. Enter. So this is your initial setup for chart of depreciation asset accounting. And I'll put this screenshot also here. So what I'll change the screenshots. It has to be ticked here, identical. Let me replace this screenshot. Copy this. It will be this. And after this, next setting, you should have this one. And this. Take your company code, go to depreciation area. You have to ensure these currencies are reflecting there. Copy this and put this here. Okay, so this is what we did now. Let me stop this for here today. The remaining part I'll continue in the tomorrow session. The configuration from the asset class onwards, we will continue in the tomorrow morning session. Alright, so let me stop this recording.